Welcome to Coach Connect Hub. We are back here for week 5 with Geoffrey Kent. Geoffrey, thank you so much again for donating your time and talent and wisdom for us here in Coach Connect Hub. I'm going to leave it to you to tell us what we can experience today, and we'll have time for Q&A after you're done. Thanks, Geoffrey.
All right, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to week 5 in the 6-part series of Entrepreneurial University on Alignable. Just to recap, in the last 4 weeks, we've discussed how to maximize your probability of achieving entrepreneurial success by pursuing ideas fueled by your passions, how to laser focus on uniquely solving problems for customers that your competitors either ignore or underserve, how to enhance the probability of success by forming unconventional strategic alliances with much larger companies, and how to provide world-class customer service to transform customers into brand evangelists. So this week, we're going to discuss how to access capital by understanding what motivates others to invest in your vision. I've mentioned in previous sessions that my last venture was a private cloud computing technology venture that I sold a decade ago. I launched this business with $2,000 in startup capital from personal savings and couldn't afford to pay myself for the first full year in business, which caused all kinds of unnecessary strain on my marriage. So I went to the bank I had banked with for 17 years to attempt to get a $100,000 small business loan and got promptly turned down with no explanation as to why. I had no choice but to stop looking for capital and start focusing on extracting as much profit as possible from my business. So I established 4 financial goals for my business. 1, get gross profit margins to exceed the technology services industry average by 10% or better as quickly as possible. And just in case you aren't familiar with gross profit margins as a term, that's your total annual sales minus your cost of goods sold. 2, get EBITDA, which is earnings or net income before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, as high above 20% as possible. So if you're not familiar with depreciation, that's when you write off a tangible asset like a building or a piece of equipment. And if you're not familiar with amortization, that's when you write off an intangible asset like a patent, trademark, or a copyright. 3, limit payroll to only covering the mandatory personal expenses necessary for the 3 co-founders to survive. And 4, getting the business cash flow positive as quickly as possible, where our monthly revenues would exceed our monthly expenses. When I accomplished all 4 of my financial goals and no longer needed capital, guess what happened? Banks started chasing me. So I took out a $100,000 line of credit to conduct arbitrage. And if you're not familiar with the term arbitrage, it's when you profit from price differences, like when you buy wholesale to sell retail. And this created a new source of profit for my business. I negotiated with the bank to borrow money at 2.5% annual interest, with interest not being charged for the first 30 days after money had been drawn down from the bank. Then I negotiated with my customers to pay me in 15 days, thus avoiding paying any interest on the money I had borrowed. I withdrew and repaid the entire line so fast and so often, the bank repeatedly increased the size of my line of credit until it had reached $1 million in 6 months. As word of my success started to spread, I began to get unsolicited offers to buy my business on a daily basis, and the rest is history. Since entrepreneurs credit lack of funding or working capital as the primary reason for business failure, I'm guessing many of you have had your share of problems raising capital. Successful entrepreneurs aren't immune to this problem, but they're able to solve this problem by thinking like the investors they're trying to raise capital from. Successful entrepreneurs understand that investors invest to make money. And when you have capital to invest, you'll have no shortage of people trying to help separate you from your money. So investors are inundated daily with business plans, prospectuses, and pitch decks filled with promises of projected future sales and profits, but no guarantees. How successful entrepreneurs differentiate themselves from all other entrepreneurs is by measuring and monitoring the future-looking metrics that actually lead to sales, in addition to measuring the sales themselves. By doing this, they're able to show investors an adjustable daily methodology for ensuring that they consistently meet or exceed their projected future sales and profits, thus reducing the risks faced by investors who specialize in investing in small businesses. Now, with my last IT business, I realized that there was a direct correlation between the number of business development events we attended or hosted, the number of awards we were recognized for, the number of meetings we had with prospective customers, and the number of sales we generated each month. So we established goals for each of these metrics and worked diligently to overachieve versus whatever target we established for each metric. You can accomplish similar results in your business if you reverse engineer your sales process for as little as one sale. In dissecting that one sale, it will become clear to you the things you need to measure and monitor that you probably currently overlook. So for the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to guide you through a discussion with a volunteer so you understand how to reverse engineer a sale to determine what leading metrics you need to monitor and measure to consistently meet or exceed your monthly sales goals. Please raise your hand digitally if you're willing to be a volunteer. All right, Bill, can you unmute yourself, please?
There we go. Okay.
All right. So, Bill, can you tell us what do you do to establish initial contact with a prospective customer? And this could be something like sending emails out or making phone calls.
It'd probably be either a phone call or an email.
Okay. And then what step do you then take to qualify prospective customers to determine if they're a potential prospect? And this will let you know that the prospect is serious and that they can actually buy your product or service. What would be, after you make that, send that email out or that phone call, what's the next thing you do?
We have a phone call and what I call lovingly a sniff test meeting, where we're either going to decide to go knock off some garbage cans together, or we get into a dog fight and we end the process at that point.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, it's I have to have a little, jocular humor.
Yeah, no problem. So after you do that sniff test, how do you conduct due diligence on prospective customers to quantify a solution you could provide to resolve their pain point? And this step allows you to collect the facts you need that detail the quantifiable severity of your prospect's problem.
So I'm going to be looking for timing for transformation. How soon do they want to see their situation change? I'm assuming that I've uncovered that they have a pain that they don't know how to get rid of, but they want to, and perhaps with my help or someone I can refer them to. And then I also want to determine, do they have the kind of budget that would enable me to be able to afford to do whatever they need to get done? So those are my two biggies, the budget and the timing and the pay.
All right, sounds good. And then how do you present your solution to the prospective customer? And this could be you're doing some kind of demo, or maybe you're giving them a written proposal, but what do you do?
I usually have in that conversation, I sort of outline what we might do. And then I sort of get, assuming I'm correct, are we on the right track? And I send them a confirmation. I don't send a request for a proposal or, responding and saying, here's my proposal. I'm giving them a confirmation. This is what I understood you wanted to do, the budget you have to do it, the time you can do it, and that you haven't had any reason to concern yourself about doing it with me.
Right.
And if we get that clear, I'm just ratifying what we've agreed to, and I send them the confirmation along with the link for payment.
Okay. And then how do prospective customers communicate to you any concerns they have about your solution before they actually sign the dotted line?
That's brought up. My process that I work with is I either bring up the elephant in the room or elephants. Things like, let's talk about your budget. Let's talk about your timing. Anything else that I think may be an issue, and they get the opportunity to bring their concerns up if I don't bring up my obstacles. So by the time we get to the end of that conversation, and sometimes it's more than one conversation,
Right.
They are pretty clear about what I want to do, what I can afford to do it, when I want to start, and I'm okay working with you. And then I just say, here's what I understood between us you want to do, when you want to do it, for how much. Here's where you go to pay your money and take your chances.
Right. Okay. And then what do you provide a prospective customer to convince them to purchase your solution to their pain point? And so this is when you're going to negotiate your price and any other details.
I'm not sure. I guess I must be a little bit different because I don't quite follow the traditional model here. By this point, it's a kind of a fait accompli. But what I may do as part of that conversation is take them into, I use a platform called 𝗙𝗛𝗘𝗘, where I will show them what the program involves. I can give them a demo of it and say, does this kind of look like what you were hoping to see? Or do you have any concerns about this? So I try to identify any obstacles to their being able to say yes, if that's what they want to do, and or identify things that would cause them to say, yeah, this is not the way I want to go or what I could see myself doing. And I'm fine with, I give them, here's permission to say no, but if you don't say no, the default is you're saying yes. But They have the opportunity at every turn to say no, and the exit door is right there. But if they want to leave, we go ahead. That's how I work.
All right. And then what happens to complete a successful solution sale to a prospective customer? And this is when they're making the purchase or they're signing a contract. What's that final step?
They have a letter of agreement that they agree to do certain things. And they have a link to a page for fulfillment where they can put their credit card in. And that once that happens, then we're officially underway. So it's pretty simple.
Okay. All right. So thank you for volunteering, but don't mute yourself. I'm going to go back and I want to show you what we've just done. So with this slide here, you kind of see in your process, it looks like you've actually condensed several of these steps into, it might be 1 or 2 phone calls, but it also sounds like you have tools that you use that allow you to differentiate each of these steps. So like the initial step, it's a phone call or an email, so you could track that. But then it starts to get condensed in some of these 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th steps. But it sounds like you have tools that you use or documents that you might provide the customer that even though it's 1 or 2 phone calls, you could track the documents that you're filling out to give you the information you need to be able to move to your next step, right? So,
yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Glad to help.
So before we get to questions and answers, I just want to thank everyone for carving out this hour on Tuesday afternoon to participate in this 5th session of Entrepreneur University Onlineable. Hopefully you guys can join me again next Tuesday afternoon, where we'll complete the Entrepreneur University series with a discussion on how to build the A-team capable of helping you realize your business vision. So with the time we have left, I'd like to answer whatever questions you have about what we've covered today. And I am going to stop sharing. All right.
Thank you, Geoffrey. I'm going to ask everyone to put up your digital hand if you have a question for Geoffrey. Thanks again, Geoffrey, and we will see you for part 6 next week.